you go. We've had meetings.
No, that's not it.
All right, let's go around and check in, and then we can pause the meeting and get our picture taken.
Right. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
that's right, and then we'll resume the meeting.
Uh,
And so your name, how you're showing up, whether you need any accommodation.
my name is Sue Cathcart. I'm here, all's well. I've been in meetings all day. And had a little break before this one. I'm glad to be here too. So there we go.
Chris Winchester has been baking, planting, and painting all day.
All right.
And finally saw the time and got in the house long enough to, I'm glad, wash my face and my feet. And I said, primer all over me. I'm good.
Jan Christensen, I've kind of been in meetings all day too, had to leave one early just so I could be here on time. I'm good.
I'm Dawn Kenyon and I doing well. I need no accommodations, except I would like to do a little brief update on our timelines
Sounds great.
at some point.
We can start with that.
New Clevenger, yeah, I will be here all day, every day, 7 days a week for the month of June, minus 3 days, in the folder for that World War II 40s ball. Thursday through
Wow.
Saturday, which is why I won't be here for our last meeting on the 13th, but Don Kenyon was the key.
Okay. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool with that. It's 7 confirmed World War II vets. 98 to 101.
No.
Wow.
We've over 100 pieces of military equipment, including 30 planes and tanks.
Where's this at?
Boulder, Colorado. Municipal airport. Pretty magical.
Hmm.
Have you been before?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Is it every year, every other year?
It's every year.
Mhm.
Always turn buttons.
Matthew McNabb, doing well, full day. We'll likely, this evening, after we get the picture, we'll check into our schedule, the implications of what I had emailed out. John, looks like you've figured out some implications of that. And then we'll pick back up with sections not yet having to do with the condemnation that we left off with last time. So we'll cycle back to that. That will give those, including the person who mentioned coming in, didn't get to it yet. We give all of us a chance to read that, because I'll send out a PDF from the city's website. I'll also make the PDF searchable, which the one on the city's website is not. And And that way you'll have it directly and won't have to find it off of the website. And we can pick back up with that next time. Yep. That's also because I'm talking with a lawyer to get advice on that section. And his expertise is in that field. That I hope will be helpful, at least will be to me. So receive feedback of, okay, we're not making any errors on that won't prevent development for this for the city.
Is that conversation with the attorney something that'll be billable?
It is not billable.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Because I don't have any authorization
I-
to spend money for this committee. If it turns out to be billable, I would have to pay for it.
Okay.
Good news that we have a guest.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's why.
Hello,
Name's
Elizabeth.
up there.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and pause the meeting for right now, and at least for the recording.
Thank you.
Dawn, you want to give us an update on implications?
Sure. So what Matt sent out is it's called a district referral steps, and the difference between this and what James sent out maybe a week and a half ago is that the process he sent out would require us to get signatures from registered voters. But the way we would like to do it is present this to the city council. And if they agree to do a referendum for this, it requires no signatures. So we save a huge step and we get more time. So this way, 81 days before the election, we have to file our referral text with the local elections official, which is August 16th. I suggest we would have that at least a week ahead of time, just in case it comes back, like this is missing something, or just any kind of accident or day off for holiday or who knows. So I think we should
That would-
shoot for,
That would give us 16 days from the last city council meeting about it, scheduled for August 1st.
good. So if it passes on the 1st, we would be able to basically submit it after that.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be, it can be anytime before that, but it can't be after that.
Mhm.
So the next day after that is submitted, it has to go to the attorney to write the ballot title. Now, we probably want to send it to the attorney ahead of that for the overview of the whole thing, if he thinks anything's crazy. But that's when it goes for the ballot title, and then he's responsible to submit the ballot title to our city elections official. And at that time, it has to be printed in the paper and posted on the website, which would be around August 18th or 17th. And then there's a process of time allowed for, because it's been published in the paper, there's a amount of time that any citizen could protest it or say, I don't agree with that ballot or that going on the ballot. And they would file with the circuit court. They have a small window to get that done. If none of that happens, then on the 61st first day prior to the election, which is September 5th, the elections official here has to file a form called SEL 802 with the county, which is the official, this is what's going on the ballot. And then it's up to us to sell it to the community. Another counselor last week at our meeting suggested to me, and this was a good idea, something I hadn't thought of, is that prior to that 61st day, we should maybe submit a request to the council for some funding. If we decide like we wanted to buy yard signs, vote yes on charter review or something like that. Or just publishing in the Register Guide or any kind of election expense. Maybe we would draft an idea of what our costs would be and submit that to council for approval.
I think a direct mailing would probably be the best way.
Direct mailing is
Yeah.
an excellent idea
Mhm.
to the registered voters. Do we have that list already of registered voters or? We had it in, we
Did you
had
Send
it,
it in the water bill?
Great idea.
Everybody gets one of those, right?
Yeah,
that's another good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's free. Everybody gets a water bill.
Mhm.
Does everybody read the back page, or would it be could it be a separate page, James?
it can be a separate page or it can be
Make it a different
one full
color
page.
or something, so it's more noticeable.
Yeah,
People are used to seeing announcements
Mhm.
on the back of their water bills.
okay. So that's where we're at with our timelines.
Sounds good.
There's two ways to do direct mailings. There's giving them a list, and then there's also just like, Michelle Coker knows what this is called. It's,
There's a way to go to every house.
yeah, and sometimes that's cheaper. Even though it's more people,
Than having the specified address.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
just depends.
I think it's called current resident or something like that. Yeah, you're right. I think that is. I don't know, $300 or $400, something like that, I feel like.
Would people read that? I mean, how would it be in a trifold paper?
Or a postcard or a full sheet of paper. It can be a full sheet. It doesn't have to be folded or anything. Post
I
office
throw
can just,
away a lot of current residents.
yeah.
Yeah,
So do
especially
I.
when it's election time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
So do I. Water bill might be.
yeah, water bill,
really-
yep.
Really good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Mhm.
you gotta open that, right?
And we have September and October.
And November.
Maybe.
When does water bill get sent, mailed out?
Basically the first month. Arrives a couple days later.
So October.
Maybe even like he mentioned, September and October.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There would still be an expense to the city for printing though. Maybe we
Mm-hmm.
could,
Unless it's on the back of the water bill itself, then it's,
and it's no additional.
Right.
Maybe we should think about 1 month separate and 1 month on.
I would just put it both.
Put them both on the back.
Yeah.
And we would want to have like link, Matt mentioned he's
Mhm.
putting together a website.
Yep.
For people to be able to
Great.
look up all, I'm assuming you would have like our big document, shows all three.
It will be formatted different,
Okay,
but the same information will be there.
I think the important thing is to charter. Changes to the charter.
Mhm.
The League of Oregon City recommendations, I think would just confuse people.
Agreed.
Moving cups if there are three cups, I think.
And my intent with the website is to focus on the why. What are the values that have been driving us as a committee, the transparency, the accountability, so that each of the decisions that we've made is framed already for the populace reading it.
mhm. I'm assuming with some kind of description that helps people understand that it's completely being reformatted to a
Yep.
model that is familiar to most cities.
All that jazz.
doing that.
Hmm. Uh,
Building good time
It's straight,
outside.
it's a straightforward way to honor our work. I mean, all of you have put a lot of work into this. And, all right. So we get to city administrator. So I've gone through and noted the parallels. Anything else before we jump in to this? Nope. I've gone through and noted the parallels that are on screen between our current charter and the league's model charter. And the text that we're looking at. So who wants to read our current charter?
I will.
Thank you.
Section 21, city administrator. Number 1, the city administrator is the administrative head of the city government. Did I stop there or read all of it?
And it just right there is perfect. And do you want to take the parallel section from the league as well?
Sure.
Thanks.
The league suggests, A, the office of city manager is established as the administrative head of the city government. The city manager is responsible to the mayor and council for the proper administration of all city business. The city administrator, should have been saying that already, will assist the mayor and council in the development of city policies and carry out policies established by ordinances and resolutions.
We copy the league's language and change only city manager to city administrator. And anyone have any comments or feedback on that language?
Sit closer so I can see better.
Is this information on a job description somewhere? Or is this is going to be the place where we know what his job is?
Yeah, employment contract is separate. Description is separate.
The job description could be more than what's here.
Right.
It just has to be a minimum of what's here.
I would remove that. I would just say at the very last sentence, established by city council rather than ordinances and resolutions, because what about motions? What about consensus?
Yeah, all those are directives to city administrator.
I would be fine with that. Shane.
Would we want to change policies to directives? Because directives is more of a catch-all than policy.
How is a directive different than a policy?
No. Policy you could argue doesn't cover ordinances, because ordinances are more like laws. And a simple motion. I don't know, give TRT funds to some group isn't a policy, but it is a directive.
The only thing is, I wouldn't want anyone to think that you don't have to follow policy.
Well, maybe policies and directives. Or simply the will of city council.
Everything we say. Well, and in fact, there are policies and rules that are in place before each new city administrator comes on board, so it's like everything that for you and everything is directed
Yeah.
during your time, so we have to just,
Kind of wondering about that
Policies
word
covers it.
development in there. It's like you're making up policies.
Right.
And then carrying them out. Is that,
As assisting in the creation of them, right? So there's, you lend an expertise to the crafting of legislation.
yeah.
So were you suggesting changing this policies to directives?
Or policies and directives.
Yeah, that second one, I think.
Say everything would be covered by one of those.
Mhm. Now we have a verb challenge. A directive is not established, it's issued.
What do
Say,
you,
what's it?
what do you suggest?
Could say policies established and directives issued by city council, but that's verbose. We could just say issued.
Policy.
Or made
Is
by.
issued instead of established?
Mhm.
Okay,
The directive is not established.
Sure. Yeah.
All right,
That works.
thumbs up.
Mhm.
Great. And the one little thing here is you don't get to put up with my um, changing this for every single section so that it's it's up to date as we go.
I think you've established a great rhythm.
It's clear what we've consented to and not. All right, who wants to take next section 2 and 3?
can you guys back there read that?
If you make it a little bigger.
I can do it. I'm right here. The administrator shall be appointed and removed as provided in section 10 hereof. The appointment shall be without regard to political considerations and solely on the basis of administrative qualifications.
And
Oh, sorry, the administrator need not reside in the city or the state when appointed.
and the league suggests
The majority of the council must appoint and may remove the manager. The appointment must be made without regard to political considerations and solely on the basis of education and experience in competence and practices of local government management. And city administrators need not reside in the city.
at all?
That's fairly common.
Yeah, I mean, he could live on High Prairie or
Okay, but a
uh,
council person can't.
Westburn.
Rick,
No. Because they have to be a registered voter by law in order to run as of the city of Oak Ridge.
That would really limit our choices for city administrators. It had to be somebody already living in the city.
And or force them to move into city limits. Because that's the way the old one was written. I think,
Mhm.
was it after they're sworn in or whatever, they can move, yeah.
all right, any reasons not to use the league's text as it's written?
I just want to bring up something that I felt happened when Brian Kuchen was city administrator. I felt like the council broke that rule,
Which one?
number 2,
Must
when
be-
they fired him or whatever you want to call what happened. I just felt like
You didn't
if you're
find it?
basing getting rid of somebody for the things it says there, I thought, how?
Well, he resigned.
Well, he resigned. He put
Oh,
in a
okay.
notice and resigned. We didn't. terminate him.
I guess I was mistaken there, because it just seemed like a shit show, I'm sorry. It's like, I didn't like the way it went down, and I just felt like the council had a lot to do with why all that happened. That's my 2 cents. And I don't know if that verbiage could maybe change. Because of that, you just don't like the mayor, you give him a hard enough time,
Not the
or you don't
mayor.
like the city council member, you give him a hard enough time, I mean, you know. We had a mayor quit too, it's like. I don't know, I just don't think the council should be able to,
Well, so someone's got to hire basically the city's CEO, and that's the board, which is, to use the private analogy, it's the board that hires the CEO. Similarly, for a city, it's the city council that hires the city administrator. And then the city administrator does a whole whale of a lot, just like the CEO of a company would. So, you know, there's our city administrator. Yay.
right, but if the council didn't like him. For whatever reason, and they gave him a really hard time, but he's doing a really good job, they just don't like his. Social life or whatever, it's crazy suits or, you know, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
Where do you base? That kind of thing, I mean, that's the favoritism, it's the, let's just make this person miserable so they'll just leave, because we can't fire him because that excuse right there. Isn't good enough. To get rid of them. We're just gonna
Right.
stir up some trouble or whatever, I don't know, I'm not.
You're employed at will, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at will, so council doesn't even have to have a reason. They can, they can just not renew the contract anytime.
Yeah, and I think it would probably be silly to terminate somebody just for not liking them versus, like whether or not they were following the rules.
Yeah, because there's a big difference in what I would receive. So if it's just a non-renewal. I get 10 weeks of pay. That's not part of the severance, which is actually the lowest of any city administrator. Probably in the state. A lot of employment contracts are up to 6 months. Of pay. And that kind of becomes the protection from city council just doing something on a whim.
Yeah, they have to pay.
Right, if there's no reason given, they would have to pay 10 weeks, 6 months, whatever it is in the employment. Now, if it's for a reason like broken the law, done something unethical, then there's no severance. It would show that he's embezzled funds or assaulted someone, beat up a public works guy or something. I don't know.
All right, so back to this language. Do we need to modify anything with the language?
Yes,
Okay,
I would say the appointment must be made without regard to political consideration. That's good. And solely on, I would just say experience and qualification rather than basis of education. Because that gets into, oh, well,
What level are you requiring in them?
yeah. And then competencies and practice of local government management. So that means you have to have been a CA before to be hired, because otherwise you wouldn't have the competence, practice in local management.
Yeah.
I just think you would want to leave it a little more broad with
Experience.
qualifications and experience.
what this is ruling out is, I mean, effectively is a DEI hire.
What's that?
Diversity, equity, inclusion hire. So saying, hey, we're going to hire this person because this person is a member of a protected class. And we feel that experience as a member of a protected class would give a unique range of insight with regard to city management.
I'm fine with that. Experience and qualifications, I'm fine with, because they're general and broad, and the
Mhm.
council can make that decision on their own, but I don't know, the competency and practice of local government management, it just seems.
I can't get beyond the offering of a lab with it being in competencies.
Yeah.
Do we need to do that?
But it's a good one, yeah.
What this allows the council to do is to organize the job description based on, here are the competencies we expect you to have. And the competencies need to relate to how a city government is managed.
Yeah, but how far do you want to go with that? Because you could say, okay, then we want them to have legal experience.
Mhm.
We want them to have experience specifically as a CA. We want them to.
Neither of
What
our
kind of
last two
government?
CAs had prior CA experience.
And out of the pool of people who applied, the people who were chosen did demonstrate competencies related to what's required.
And experience in government.
Experience in the competencies.
I'm just saying those two people
Oh,
had
yes.
experience in government,
Yes, they did.
even though they weren't a prior CA
Mhm.
people.
And I think that's important because that's a huge job.
Mhm.
Competencies normally would require some kind of testing to test competence.
Mhm.
Is there a written test that we want to?
Well, what was on your resume?
Lots of stuff,
Yeah.
but I didn't have to take that test.
Mhm.
I like the description also of experience and qualifications.
So do
This-
I.
You know, there's a lot of people left out, you know, when you add education into it, there's a lot of people that are, you know, left out of that circle and are money smart and intelligent and capable.
And education goes into your qualifications.
Mhm.
I mean, that's covered under
Right.
qualifications.
And you're using it as why. The point is that it's not made as a political thing.
Right, that's,
Right.
That's the main thing. So the rest of the thing should be, no, it's not because of that, it's because of experience and. Yeah.
and your experiences certainly covers diversity.
I'm okay with all of that. I just still don't like that and may remove the manager. That just doesn't fit there, I don't think.
Well, you have
Should
to,
be
you have to
different.
give that.
I think.
No, I know,
You're saying
but I
take
think
it
not in
out
that
to-
same sentence. It needs to be a little separate. Maybe you should say why you would be able to remove them or something. That's pretty open there. We're gonna remove him because we don't like his crazy suits. Or whatever.
A lot of that will be covered by employment law and.
Yeah, and our
Okay.
attorney usually has to weigh in before we make any kind of decisions like that. The council meets with the attorney in executive session. And he would advise us, whoa, you're being kind of silly. You want to get a lawsuit? This would be my suggestion. I mean, would be what I think I would hear if I just said, I don't like this guy. He has crazy suits. I want to fire him.
Mhm.
He would warn me that I'm probably going to get us sued. I vote that way. Or if I take that action. And the whole council, not just me.
I know when you fire somebody as an employer, I think you have to be very careful the reasons you get
Right.
for that firing.
Mhm.
Can of worms and you think they don't deserve unemployment benefits or something and they'll get them because you didn't have the right excuse. You let them go.
So, it's, yeah. Am I, and that's why the lawyer will weigh in on that.
Yeah.
The, James, am I understanding correctly what you're suggesting as a substitute language?
No,
No.
you keep adding stuff and we're never gonna get through this. Basis of experience and qualifications, period.
Yeah.
Everything else gone.
Uh,
Delete all of that and delete all of that.
yeah, I won't be on board with that because then it's not specifying what the qualifications should be related to.
Huh.
Um,
Well, for the last 100 years, we've done it based solely on the basis of administrative qualification.
mhm.
Oh, in the prior charter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now we're adding experience.
yeah, that was legit.
I mean, I see where you're going, Matt. If we go too far, we might as well write the entire job description.
I mean, the league is suggesting this because it does focus what the job description should be about. Is there a reason why, I think maybe I'm not seeing the reason to eliminate it. Because it goes back to that, you're basically using the league's language unless we have a reason.
Okay, so if you have someone who's been a city administrator for 30 years,
Mhm,
they have excellent experience, check.
mhm,
Now, they may not have 2 law degrees,
mhm.
so they're lacking on the qualifications,
Or it
but
could be
they've
the
got 30 years of
opposite.
experience. Or it could be the opposite.
Yeah, they have all that law stuff behind them, but no city administrative experience.
Right, plus an MBA, plus a BA in planning.
If we added a /or. So, hey, the council is welcome to weigh education more or welcome to weigh experience more.
But I'm saying qualifications covers education,
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
Yes.
and I'm saying experience covers competency.
mhm.
and I'm saying experience covers more than competency, which is why I wanted to restrict it. Which is why the league is also restricted what experience is to be considered. Not the fact that, hey, look, he has experience. We're both fathers of kids in the Little League.
Well, right, but if you read this strictly, no
Mhm.
one could be hired unless they have experience in competence and practice in local government management.
Mhm.
So you couldn't be a CA unless you've been a CA before.
Yeah, did Brian Kuchin have
No,
any local
No,
government management?
No, it's because the competencies, you have experience.
in competencies and practices of local government management.
Yeah.
That's pretty
So see-
specific there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Brian didn't have it,
Yeah,
I didn't have it.
yeah.
Brian had 30 years of managing a Navy fleet of some sort.
Right.
I mean, a huge amount of government people, but it wasn't a local government.
Right,
Right.
but the competencies overlap. So it's if I've never played rugby, but I've played actually reverse this, if I've never played American football, but I've played rugby. And I've played at a high level. Many of those competencies overlap.
So do we want to add language to say in competencies and practices of local, state, federal, or international government management?
I'm wondering,
No, because it's
That's transferable skills.
the transferable skills. The competencies we value are the competencies related to local government management, however you got them, wherever you demonstrated them. You demonstrated yours in some areas. Brian demonstrated his in other areas.
Yeah, but this is pigeonholing it into local government management. So like take that out for, you say American football? We're trying to get into what with rugby?
Yeah.
Rugby?
Mhm.
Okay. So companies and practices of American football, pointy ball.
Mhm.
Well, sorry, rugby doesn't count because it says
Mhm.
local government management,
It is too specific.
American football. That is
Hmm.
pretty specific. And
Would you be comfortable with something like that? Experiences and qualifications related to,
Now, my only question about using the word competencies at all
Mhm.
is then do we have to have some kind of a document, an ordinance or a resolution that declares what makes a person competent in what area?
I mean, you wouldn't have to, but you could. But you can also do that just with the job description of, these are the skills that we value, that we're looking for.
What if you took out the word competency
yeah,
related to practices of local government?
how about just government administration? Again, take out the word local
Yeah,
because,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, if somebody
That's what
that's
you-
governor of the state of Illinois for 20 years,
Mhm.
I'd say they could probably
Qualified.
see.
All right, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's how we get there together.
Mhm.
Yay.
I think it's more understandable by the public too than
Mhm.
agencies.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then we just change that to administrator.
I think there's another manager up above in B two.
I still don't like the remove in there.
And a space.
It should be a D or whatever. Change that to a B, maybe.
What are you talking about?
Is there a B in there? I think, is it, oh, that is B we're working on, okay. So add a D and do the council can remove.
You want that separate from,
Yeah, I just think doesn't sound right in there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's like not really part of that.
It may remove.
I think they're linked intentionally to, as a contrast to,
Hire and fire.
right, the hire and fire, and the council must do this. Council's under no obligation to get rid of the administrator. Something they may do.
But aside from the administrator, they're the only ones who can.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise the administrator would be the mayor. But we're avoiding-
Can it be an and or?
I'm just wondering if it might fit in that better,
What's that?
to put it in the A section, where it establishes him as the head of the government. And I don't know, it seems like, you want the council appointing and removing to be maybe an A rather than B.
But A is what describes the office itself.
Right.
This describes how the person gets in or out of the office.
Right.
Um, are we good enough?
I'm noticing that.
Oh, here you go. Coming up, league suggested language, they're gonna talk about removing them again.
Oh,
They didn't separate it though, so.
Yes, Don.
I was just noticing in B, the very last sentence, the league recommends government management. Ours is government administration. Is there any difference?
Manager's lower, because you could be a manager of a department.
Oh, right. Okay. We talked about that already.
Are we good with this? Good enough?
Yeah.
Yep, all right.
We already did C.
Yep. And we're still all okay with C?
Mhm.
Yep, okay.
It'll be.
All right, so who wants to read 4 and 5?
Oh, I do.
All right,
4, upon accepting the appointment, the administrator shall furnish the city a bond in an amount with a surety approved by the council. The city shall pay the bond premium. And 5, within 6 consecutive months after a vacancy occurs in the office of the administrator, the council shall fill the vacancy by appointment.
and the parallel for,
Oh, and the parallel from the league is the manager may be appointed for a definite or an indefinite term and may be removed at any time by a majority of the council. The council must fill the office by appointment as soon as practicable.
Technical, it should be.
yeah, it should be something other than that.
It's
Practical.
practicable after the vacancy occurs.
And my note on that one says that 5 that you just read is almost exactly the same as 9. Just when the administrator is absent from the city or disabled from acting as administrator, or when the office of administrator becomes vacant, so shall appoint an administrator pro tem who has the powers and duties of administrator, except that the administrator pro tem may appoint or remove personnel only with approval of the council.
Mm.
No person may be administrator pro tem for more than 6 consecutive months.
So that's just delineating the difference between hiring a replacement and covering it while there's a limbo.
Mhm.
Pro tem covers the limbo.
Mhm.
And that's that, I have that parallel with H, the league.
Yeah, it looks like they really shortened it.
All right, so we have, first off, the issue with bonds.
Yeah, they took that out, didn't they?
They did.
Because nobody uses bonds anymore. Except us. Maybe a couple other cities have. The CIS insures the same stuff.
So there's the insurance, and which is if someone is guilty of something, what they embezzled, for instance, is repaid. And that can take 8 months, year and a half of legal haranguing to get that payment. The bond covers it in the interim. That's so when the city went through, oh, look, here's this money that we don't know what happened to it. And the city council at the time said, oh, well, we don't want to actually fire the person who was responsible for keeping track of this money. What that meant was that the city council could not then pull the bond to have all of that money instantly available. That's what the bond is for.
But it has to be approved by because I just checked on our bond. Has to be approved by some kind of investigator from the bond company. That's to agree that,
You mean prove that maybe it was, that the loss of the money was a direct result of the person?
and it has to be either intentional or maybe gross negligence.
Mhm.
But just regular negligence won't work.
Meaning, I forgot to enter this check that we paid somebody for $1 million and so I thought I had the money, so I paid another $1 million bill. But that's just an accident and too bad you're out of the money.
Yeah, the insurance might cover that, might, but the bond wouldn't.
Gross negligence.
So,
So if they did that 10 times. That would probably be gross. negligence.
and an amount that high might also, might also be gross negligence, but. um, So. I mean, given that there have been two instances. In the last, 15 years, where the city coulda, woulda, shoulda pulled bonds. For operating revenue. I have a hesitancy to take this out. If there weren't that history, I might be like, oh, well, we haven't needed this. And I'm like, no, we needed it and the city council didn't use it.
Well, some people were friends with the person that was negligent.
Yep.
I'm supportive of keeping the bond. I think we also need to put in there for finance director. Anyone that has direct access to money.
Mhm.
Mhm. That wouldn't be in this section though, because this section is for city administrator.
Right. Exactly. And I don't think there is a section for finance director. Just a section
There's
for-
not, but maybe there needs to be versus a section for a recorder.
Is there a
Unless.
section for bonds?
Mhm.
Should be somewhere,
That would be a probably a better way to do it, because you can say a bond is required for anyone that has direct access.
Yeah, that's sound idea.
Is there any things that the league recommended that weren't in our charter before? Or did they only recommend direct comparisons?
Yes, there are things that they recommended that are not in our charter.
I'll get to it at the end since there's no comparison.
I just wondered if maybe bonds was one of them.
Placed it along the way. All right, so pause screen here. Make people dizzy with scrolling back and forth.
So what would happen if, well, it's not very likely to happen, but what would happen if someone accepted the appointment and then they went to get bonded and the bonding company said, you're not bondable?
They won't get the appointment.
Or we don't sell bonds anymore because there's only 2 companies left in Oregon that sell bonds.
so what do you do instead of a bond then? Nothing?
We have CIS insurance for it. It's called excess crime
Um,
coverage. Excess. crime.
Just
Yes.
access. The.
Does gross negligence?
Describe it as
Umbrella?
Excess with the E or A?
Extra, excess.
Excess. Gotcha.
In order to file a claim on that insurance, does gross negligence have to be proven, or what was the other thing you said?
Intentional, willful acts, criminal acts. Straight up embezzlement.
Is that required by CIS?
It's basically required because otherwise if you don't have the excess crime coverage, then they charge you more for everything else.
Mm.
So technically it's not required, but it's,
No, what I meant was, if someone wanted to file the claim against the insurance for some negligence, for some missing money, would the insurance company, like the bond company, require for an investigation to be done and gross negligence to be proven before they would pay?
I would assume so. The insurance companies don't like paying out. It's some type of investigation by their insurance agent, which you can of course appeal.
Mhm. So there's city administrator, treasurer.
We don't have a title of treasurer.
Okay, what are the positions we have that handle money?
Well, you have a finance director. You have accounts payable. You have accounts receivable
These are positions?
in the finance department.
Well, those two are in one position, aren't they?
No, separate. Leah is accounts receivable, Jackie is accounts payable. And that's that our auditors have recommended that for years. You need to separate those things, accounts payable and accounts receivable.
You should never have one person doing all the money and banking and not a good idea.
So then we'd have to have bonds on the entire,
Finance department plus the council president.
the council president has like
Check sign
authority
Yeah,
to check.
check
on- Yeah,
writing.
you're right, check sign.
and access to the bank. You can at least look at the bank account. And the mayor.
So what's the benefit of having bonds versus the insurance?
According to our insurance guy Rex, he says, these bonds are ridiculous. You're already covered with CIS insurance. Why are you still doing bonds? Well, because Rex, it's in our chart. You have to. Oh, okay, well, let me see if I can find a bonding company.
Well, what's the benefit of having a bond if you have the insurance?
Well, as Matt says, it's quicker payment.
Hmm.
Bond,
Yeah, so an insurance settlement, you can get a declaration, my understanding, you can get a declaration that this person has to pay it back. But you're then waiting for that payment back. Your insurance,
Oh, the insurance doesn't just pay out on it?
it's my understanding that insurance will sometimes pay partial and you're on the hook for the settlement. So if the judge says this person, owes you $80,000 and the total amount missing was 200,000. Does the insurance pay all 200,000?
Don't know.
It's
I would assume so. They have to cover the loss.
Well, it's probably got a cap.
I would
So
think
if
they
they
would
stole
cover the loss
500,000,
and
you're
then
only
they
gonna
would
get
sue the,
200,000, or whatever. your
individual.
The
cap
caps are
is.
in the millions.
that's what the bond company does. The bond company pays it out and then sues the person for whom they're getting the money from.
This is why there's not very many of them.
I would kind of think that the insurance would be the same way, but I'm only basing that on experience from car accidents.
Mhm.
You get in an accident with someone that's uninsured, your insurance
Mhm.
coverage covers it, and then,
I never got what my car was worth, doggone.
right, nobody ever does.
Yeah.
Right.
But you see what I mean? Like, well, maybe if they were insured, your insurance company sues their insurance
Yeah.
company to be reimbursed for.
Yeah, does it make sense to try and get some input from our insurance man? Because
Mhm.
I fear of backing ourselves in the corner if we require a bond and nobody's using bonds anymore.
Mhm.
you know, the carry all.
I can tell you his opinion will be, you're wasting money on this
Mhm.
bond and stuff. Nobody does it.
So we have our temporary location of it down here under the not yet approved label. So that we can move on with what's in the administrator's description. So we'll leave out any mention of the bond right now. And we have 5. Our current charter says within 6 months after a vacancy occurs, the council shall fill the vacancy. The manager and the league says the manager may be appointed for a definite or indefinite term, may be removed at any time. Council must fill the office by appointment as soon as whatever that is, after the vacancy occurs. We had some discussion about this when we were initially going through it, liking that 6-month period. Because it established a clear, you've got to get this done by this period, so that you don't have people saying, well, you know, as soon as practical is probably 9 months out. We have a lot on our plate, maybe 10 months.
6 months even seems a little long
Mhm.
with all the responsibility of the city administrator. It seems like a,
They can
Long
always
time.
put a appointed pro tem.
They will immediately.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, okay.
Then somewhere isn't the definition of a pro tem not more than 6 months?
Yes.
Yeah.
N- 9.
Trying to search if the city of Eugene has a bond on their city manager. Surety bond. It looks like they force bonds on all their contracted work.
Places bonded and insured. Yep.
So this is one option, combining the league's language and our existing language, that the manager may be appointed for a definite or indefinite term and may be removed at any time by a majority of the council. That's the league's language, and then the language from our existing charter, within 6 months, the council must fill. And they have within 6 consecutive months after a vacancy occurs.
Why aren't we going with the league's language?
Because it doesn't have a 6-month deadline. It just says as soon as practicable, which could be 2 years. You could say, oh, we couldn't really afford a city administrator, so it wasn't practicable.
Practicable.
So we waited 2 years. I don't know.
And that was a discussion we had, what, year and a half ago or so, about
Oh, okay, I was.
how much we liked the fact that there is the 6-month deadline.
Okay,
How are we sitting with that? Yes.
does anyone mind if I put the AC back on?
No, oh, no, I'll be happy to do that, actually. No one turn it up. The picture. How are we sitting with that for the text?
That's fine.
Fine,
So that bottom comes off, that.
yes, the bottom comes off.
Within a 6 consecutive months after a vacancy occurs.
Mhm.
Puts today, 6 months from now, that job has to be filled.
And there will be a pro tem in the meantime.
Mhm.
But they have 6 months to find a new person.
Why the point of putting consecutive in there, is that not understood?
Because there's so many things that in a legal document you don't want to leave understood. That would be my guess of it.
Was it already consecutive in the other one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So first off, just verifying, we have consented that if we include bonds, we're moving it to a separate section. Yes,
Mhm.
we're all on the same page with that. All right, which is not the same, obviously, as consenting to include the bond section.
If you turn that green, will we overlook it?
Yeah, we should put the paragraph that's in parentheses.
Yeah, I put the little bonds down in the relevant section of the document.
No, I mean, if you're scrolling through there real quick, you might skip that because it says green and it's consented and not
What's
go
that?
back to it.
Can we highlight
So-
the,
If I go down here, where the bonds would go, it would likely be, right there. There's a not yet approved,
Okay,
so there's no way we'll miss it. And then. Are we good with D? Use the league's language and a combo of our language so that we have 6 months. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Yes,
yes.
all right. All right, 6, A and B, who wants to take the,
Make it just a tad bigger. The administrator shall attend all council meetings unless excused by the council or mayor. Keep the council advised of the affairs and needs of the affairs and needs. of the city.
I remember this.
See that the provisions.
no,
Oh,
just,
stop there.
yeah, just those
Okay.
two.
And then suggested the manager must attend all council meetings unless excused by the mayor or council. Make reports and recommendations to the mayor and council about the needs of the city.
I think the league's language is clearer,
Mhm.
especially clearer than.
Yes.
Yes.
Definite,
Mhm.
changing manager to administrator.
Right.
you might as well
columns.
copy and paste that a few times down instead of doing it each time.
Yeah,
That's a good idea.
all right. So any reasons not to use the league's language here?
Change manager to administrator.
Yes. We actually need to do that up in the section we just consented to. So since I made a change to the section we just consented to, even though it was one word, do we still have that consent? Yes, all right.
Um. Yeah.
James, any thoughts on this section?
I think it's.
I would only comment, and this is probably way too nitpicky and silly, but if there was some kind of emergency that the city administrator couldn't attend a meeting, but he couldn't get a hold of the mayor,
Yes, and I wrote that down as a note. I would,
Because-
excused by the mayor
or the
council president.
council.
I'd say or council president. And I think that's why I wrote that down. But sometimes it's hard to, because if it's by the council,
Then you have to get the approval of everyone, and they can't vote without it, there being a meeting. going
right, I'd
on.
be conducting council business
Mhm.
illegally.
Right.
In a quorum.
Right, so. That would make sense.
All right. You good with this?
Yeah.
Thumbs up? All right.
The word, just have a question about the word make reports, make.
Yeah.
Should that be provide reports?
They verbalize them. They
I like
report
provide
to-
better.
Yeah.
Make is,
Like you got a lot of handwriting to do. Cause you might have somebody else
Right, might not be
do
your
things
report.
for you and then you just provide it.
I do like provide better. Make is just. Yeah, make reports, what is?
You write them.
Yeah,
Put them together.
But they're not
What-
going to be
Verbalize
handwritten
Verbalize them.
report.
Is
You could just give a summary verbal report.
It provides,
It's
provide
considered
just
making a
kind of
report.
broadens it, like.
Yeah.
Not necessarily his work, but he's providing
Mhm.
reports
yeah,
that were done by somebody.
and I hear make as broader. Because if I make a report, I don't know, I'm not necessarily the one to hand it in. To provide it. I oversee its construction, it's made,
Make sounds personal to me, like I had to make that,
mhm,
I had to do that. But as a city administrator, James, don't you have others that provide you a report?
Every once in a
Now
while.
you have to provide it.
Right.
Make
Advice
or
that you're the
provide
only one who
reports?
can
Yeah.
Provide things. Other people are applicable,
Give,
practicable.
give would be a third alternative.
The league recommends make, so it seems like it's reasonable that make covers all.
any objection to just going on? Make? No.
You're saying that he's the only one who can do it, though. He's the only one that can make reports, because it says that he must make reports.
And
He must provide reports.
same with
Any other
recommendations.
laws that
Right.
say Must?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you can read it from place, but you're allowing it to be. He's the only one who can do it.
Yeah, I'm the only one that could make recommendations. I'm the only one who can-
No, it says that part of your job description is to do this, not that you're the only one. Who can.
But if I have to make recommendations. I can't say, I know nothing about wastewater management, so this recommendation is coming from the Director of Public Works. And he's in charge of the waterworks. Got way more experience, or the city engineer with an engineering degree.
Right. That's kind of where I'm seeing it. It's all on you. And. Ought,
Deliver,
What's wrong with
make
provide?
or provide. If you want both of them, make or provide.
Yeah, that allows him to do the right one. Provide it.
Yeah,
I think I would lean to one of those words,
yeah. this
either
is
make
weird.
or provide.
I would say provide, because sometimes there's an excellent report written by Harvard Law School and Yale Law School together with 100 super attorneys. And I can't beat that. So I would rather provide that Yale Harvard report rather than making my own.
Could we say make recommendations,
Yeah,
Yeah,
provide reports and make recommendations?
there you go.
yeah,
yeah, that's actually part of what
that's
he
how
does
better,
in each
yeah.
agenda bill. He makes a recommendation.
I recommend you follow the Harvard Yale
Yes,
Sure.
report that I provided.
that's excellent. I'm for that one.
Any objections to reversing that order of make recommendations and provide reports?
No. I do object. It
Yep.
sounds fine the way it is. Leave it alone.
I agree, just.
I like it the way it is right there.
Yeah, I prefer this order.
All right. That's not a hill I'm gonna die on. All right. Who wants to take this one?
You blow it up, I'll read it. C,
Yes, C and D.
see that the provisions of all ordinances are administered to the satisfaction of the council. D, see that all terms of franchises, leases, contracts, permits, and privileges granted by the city are fulfilled. The league's recommendation, administer and enforce all city ordinances, resolutions, franchises, leases, contracts, permits, and other city decisions.
I like the league's language. It's saying that all city administrators should also be police officers, because they administer and enforce. Because it's our police department that enforces.
Well, technically, you're the boss of the police department, so you would be enforcing by directing them to enforce. After we've directed you to enforce,
Let's administer.
them to enforce.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that true?
Well. No, I mean, if I was not also a police officer, there are. Some things I couldn't enforce. I mean, I could do,
But as the boss of all, you are over the head chief of police. You're
Right.
his boss, so wouldn't you be enforcing by acting, ensuring that he's enforcing laws?
yes, but that would be more on the administering side.
Oh, rather than the word enforce?
Right,
Could you say ensure the enforcement of?
yeah.
With
Which,
that,
Administer and ensure the enforcement of all city ordinances, resolutions, franchises.
I think it would be simpler to say, see that all ordinances and resolutions are administered and enforced.
There you go.
And we can add as many things as we want in there, so. Ordinances, resolutions. franchises, leases, contracts, permits.
And other city decisions, so that covers everything else. Probably.
They lump all that together and call it privilege. In the charter.
Yeah,
I'm just taking language from our current charter. And then just franchise leases, contracts, permits.
I like what it says on our column for 3.
on which column?
Right,
All right.
our proposed column.
We're trying to, one of our objectives was to move away from the antiquated language. Do you think there's a risk of C being understood as observe or view? As opposed to see to it that,
Yes,
I think C is now much more used to mean observe this. Watch this happen.
How about ensure?
Budging.
I think you can just replace C with ensure.
That's what I meant. The word see
Oh.
becomes the word ensure.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We have consent to this one?
You could take out franchises and leases because contracts, a lease is a contract and a franchise agreement is a contract. If you wanted to simplify it, because some people are not gonna know what a franchise agreement is. Just like franchises. And the only reason I mention this is we mentioned to simplify the language.
That would do it, because you're not gonna have a franchise, it's not a contract.
Right.
Yeah. I think we can. Delete franchise and lease.
Put an end.
Is decisions an okay word?
Well, that
City business,
Directives?
directives,
City council directives?
well, a decision is made by the vote of a motion, which becomes a directive. I mean, it's still a decision of the council. So it's also,
The decisions would include the quasi judicial decisions.
Well, can we just add the word council, city council decision? Because city decisions,
yeah.
that could be, some employees get together and write a. They call those things,
we decided.
everyone signs a petition.
Petition.
Sorry.
But would they have to have council approval?
Are we good with this now?
Now they do.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Free my mouse thing here going wild tonight. All right, who wants to take this next one?
I will. E is appoint, discipline, and remove appointed personnel, except appointees of the mayor or council. In the middle is, the league recommends appoint, supervise, and remove city employees.
Well, it's definitely more direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it would allow me to fire the municipal court judge without.
Because it doesn't say accept appointees of the mayor or council.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's add those words back in, except the appointees of the city
And I
council.
think it should be mayor and council,
Mhm.
Yes.
or just council.
but why would we not want you to be able to fire the municipal judge?
Because I can't now, because the judge is supposed to be separate and serve only at, like me, like the city administrator,
Mhm.
only serves the council, only the council. So not just one person can say, this judge, he keeps letting people off. Too nice. We need more money. City. And so I'm gonna fire this guy and get a guy who's gonna charge everybody the maximum amount of money.
So why would we not want the manager to be able to do that?
Because the judge is supposed to be independent. Not have to face.
He's contracted. Um,
I mean, the judge will be, his position will be whatever we specify, right?
Right, but then we have judges like in Russia, where they serve at Putin's bequest.
Mhm.
And if he doesn't find journalists, enemies of the state
Mhm.
and sentence them to 5 years in the gulag, then they can't be judging.
So this is the city judge.
municipal court.
Mhm.
There's a whole separate section on judge. Same as city administrator.
Same as record.
Okay.
Same as recorder.
It doesn't specify who the answers. to.
The municipal court judge?
Yeah, he answers to the council. Well, no, I mean, kind of
Appointed by the council, but that's it.
appointed, yeah.
Right.
We can't tell him what to do,
Mhm.
but we can, no one.
Mhm.
He's the highest authority of his court. But we can't tell him how to do his court, but we can tell him whether he works here or not.
And at least those decisions would be in public because they would be in a city council meeting
Right.
rather than me behind closed doors saying, Frank, come on, you let this guy off again. I told you to find him guilty.
Mhm.
You're fine. And none of that's in public.
So that's why to not allow you to remove the city judge. What about the other positions?
The other appointees,
Mhm.
the recorder or slash finance director.
Yeah.
You know, historically, I've heard there was a time when that was not in the charter
Mhm.
and it got added into the charter. And I don't know why.
Mhm.
Unless it had to do with the necessity for bonding. Because when it was added, the recorder was the finance director. There weren't two separate things. And it required them to be bonded.
Hmm.
So maybe that's why they got put in the charter.
Could we say accept the municipal judge?
Except what?
Except the municipal judge.
Right, so
Appoint, supervise, and remove city employees. Yes, he can't. He can't. Yes, but the recorder or finance director is his employee. So he would have to hire and fire that person.
the city council doesn't have anything to do with their appointment.
We do appoint the recorder according to the charter. That's only because it's in the charter.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts?
municipal court judge. And we do involved by the city council.
So if we added municipal court judge there, that would take care of that. Is there any reason to have this be as general as our current charter has?
Well, actually, it should be as general because I'm thinking it should. Because the council has the authority to create more appointees of the council, so if we so choose. It says in the beginning of the charter somewhere
Mhm.
that we can create more, or we can combine the office of two appointees.
Or like an ombudsman or
Yeah.
or a forensic auditor, forensic accountant or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
So we might leave that as, yeah, appointees of the mayor or council.
all right, we good with this? Yep. All right. So F, we will get to that one. G, what's that?
Later,
Yes. G and H, who wants to take those? Will do.
G, organize and reorganize departmental structure of city government. H, prepare and transmit to the council an annual city budget. And suggested is organize city departments and administrative structure. Prepare and administer the annual city budget.
Is there any compelling reason not to use the league's language?
well, I've always wondered why we have the words prepare the city budget in there, because according to budget law, the city administrator has, well, time for my medicine. City council has the authority to appoint a budget officer every year by budget law, and it does not have to be the city administrator. So the city administrator, often in practice, is appointed as the budget officer, but he just oversees the finance director doing it. He doesn't actually prepare it. So I have wondered why we have the word prepare.
But if you had in the future someone who could prepare it, you'd still want that word in there, but add a different word.
Are you suggesting something like that? No.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
I would only suggest instead of the word prepare, maybe it would say prepare or supervise.
Yeah.
Supervise and administer the annual city budget.
You could say prepare or administer. See,
you have to administer it is, I would think, make sure it's followed, track it.
well, isn't that already covered in that I have to administer all city council decisions and leases and contracts and.
Mhm. I think this is actually like a directive that the administrator needs to prepare the budget. When in reality, by state budget law, that is not the case anymore, so I don't know why it's worded that way.
Would it be, could you say oversee and supervise? I'm sorry, oversee and administer the annual city budget? I guess oversee is
Same
just like a
semester.
state. See that the budget, you know.
So James, I hear your point, totally valid. 7, I mean, you're the administration of the annual city budget is elsewhere covered.
How about instead of, where you have number 6,
Mhm.
instead of prepare or supervise,
Mhm.
replace both of those words with one word, manage.
Manage the preparation of.
That
that's
works, yeah. Preparation and maybe a word to add, to make sure it gets done. Preparation of, and let's get it done. Not those words, but.
That's delegated by law, the state budget law.
Do we want to pigeonhole ourselves with annual? Because a lot of cities are going to biennial
Hmm.
city budget, so.
Just put the word city
Budget.
budget, in other words.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Annual.
Mhm,
I'm fine with that.
mhm.
Yeah, that would be good. 'cause it would
Leave
be
it alone.
so nice to go to biennial.
Would it? You'd have to go through that twice? I was
No,
on the.
Every
2
years.
Oh, okay,
Which a lot of cities are going to.
wow.
Are we good with what's said?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes, all right. Skipping I briefly. All right.
I should just skip it. Because we've already.
Mhm.
Supervise city contracts, yeah.
Yeah. Nothing.
All right, J. Let's take J and 7.
Supervise operation of all city-owned public utilities and property and. Want me to go to K? No?
Not yet.
So the league says administer city utilities and property.
Can we fit that up in the contracts, leases thing?
We probably could, we would lose some parallelism with what's pretty standard.
What is administer?
Make it happen.
Control.
Set the constraints for,
Can you lower our water bill?
Operation of, yeah, I like that. Yeah. I like it where it is and I like it where it says.
Okay,
are we good with?
What's administering property?
Property the city owns.
Making sure that the parks are maintained.
yeah, our city property.
Mhm.
And maybe put city property.
Public.
Right, because that's in our charter of city owned. They left that in.
Yeah.
I'm not, fine.
There's the supervised operation. Do we want that concept in the language?
I think that's what administer means. Just making sure it happens.
Mhm.
Are we good with the league's language? There,
I think I
Yep.
would add the city property. What property are they referring to there?
Well, the city has no jurisdiction on private property. So they can't delegate that in the charter.
Is there any case when we would be managing a property we didn't own?
Well, potentially if we rented it, the
Mhm,
city rented property.
mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point. The city, well, we do. The water department,
Yeah.
the water, we don't own that.
Mhm.
But we will.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe let's not put the word city property. Or property.
Mhm.
Well, I think the word city
Includes
before
both.
utilities and property means
Mhm.
city utilities and city property.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
no
Okay,
comma.
yeah,
Do we need to make it broad enough to govern the water system since the city doesn't own it yet?
That's,
No.
We have a contract.
Yeah, in the city utility.
We're legal. Actually, we don't really manage that property. They do. We borrow it.
And the utilities are there, which I have to administer.
Okay. Yes, for consent to hear? Yes, okay. 8 and 9, the league adds. Encourage and support regional and intergovernmental cooperation and promote cooperation among the council, staff, and citizens in developing city policies and building a sense of community.
I think we should leave all of that out. It's too subjective. Someone said, oh, you're not promoting cooperation. You're agreeing with one side rather than the other. Well, take positions sometimes. I don't know. I think-
Well, really, you present a recommendation. And then it's up to the council to decide if they like or dislike your recommendation, not the other way around.
And I have witnessed you doing this.
Well,
And realistically, like that's something that I would very much expect of a city manager. It not to say, well, of course, I disagree with so and so, he's a bag of blah, 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 blah. To just flag, yeah, that's not appropriate for the city administrator to be doing. Bad mouthing council members right and left.
Mhm.
I don't like number 9 at all.
I do. Because I think that our council has had some issues in there.
Well, here's how I see it. The council is elected by the community, right?
Mhm.
So the community put those people there. There is no obligation by any one of those people that they have to agree with any other.
Mhm.
And the community should hope for a degree of differences of opinion. If everybody always had the same opinion on every single topic, we would be a really freaking boring place. May not be anywhere, because that's actually not possible.
So,
So to me, number 9 says, and I've heard this so many times, and it offends me, that you guys all need to get along, means you need to vote the way we think you should vote, not,
Yeah, are you gonna cooperate tonight?
yeah, you cooperating, you're not cooperating. That's,
so is there any way we could phrase number 9 to not mean that, but to mean things like if the city council adopts participatory budgeting for a part of the park district funds, there's an administrative role in overseeing the participatory budgeting process to make sure that whoever is going to each district in the town has the resources that that person needs. There is cooperation among the council, the staff, and the citizens in developing city policies, in this case, how the money is spent, and building a sense of community.
Yeah. I'm just saying you could rewrite 8 and 9 by saying, be a decent person and have goodwill towards all men.
it's not even replacing something.
Yeah.
Just adding
Right.
adding
Yeah.
stuff that they think we should say.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, saying be a good person, get along with people.
Well, it's saying, tell your bosses to get along.
I agree
That's
that
how I
nine,
read
yeah,
that, because the council is your boss. And that's saying, you need to promote cooperation
Yeah.
amongst us.
It's like an offer you can't refuse.
Okay.
mhm. I see 9 is saying that, I think 8 is saying. that we shall not act in, work in a bubble, right? That's saying work with ODOT and work with
Oh,
Lane
sure.
County and work with. Oregon Health, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I kind of see that as a given, but the citizens want to demand it.
I don't.
I mean, that's your job.
Yeah,
Well, demanding it is having it in the charter.
Mhm.
Like if,
yeah, but how do you?
right, if you were not being cooperative with ODOT,
Sometimes there's good reasons not to be cooperative. Gotta take a stand for your city.
your council has directed you to take that step.
Right.
So you have to stand up to it. It can't.
So why would Lane County put this in there?
Because it's foo-foo stuff that they,
Well, it's the League of Oregon Cities. It might be in multiple, similar language might be in multiple other charters, and they came up with a professional way of saying what other cities are already saying.
But we didn't say anything.
Right,
And I'm going back to the participatory budgeting piece. That sort of citizen involved, active citizen involvement. Overseeing that kind of coordination so far is not covered in the description of what the city administrator would do.
I'm not sure I follow what you're saying. Like, if the city wanted to implement a new way of budgeting, participatory something.
Right, it's called participatory budgeting. It's where
Because it's not something that exists, right? Here.
Here, doesn't exist here. So participatory budgeting is one of the ways, it is. When a city is faced with budget constraints for parks and rec, one of the most successful ways that a city can get approval of a robust budget for parks and rec is to set aside a percentage of the Parks and Rec budget to be decided by citizens. It's often done by districts or by, so in your district, you all get to say how we spend your fraction of 5% of the budget. So you're 1.25% of the Parks and Rec budget. In this other district, you all get to determine. And what happens is people get together and they're then saying, well, I want to improve this park. Well, I want to paint this mural on the street. And just that process winds up getting people feeling so involved, and not feeling, I mean, they are involved in what's happening in Parks and Rec, that people then vote for, we want a robust Parks and Rec budget. Similarly with Neighborhood Watch, when there is an opportunity for a levy for additional law enforcement equipment, and there's no distribution of any city funds for Neighborhood Watch, the levy is much more frequently, I might be using the wrong term, but that much more frequently gets voted down than, hey, we're going to have Neighborhood Watch by district, and each of the Neighborhood Watch departments is going to have a say over $5,000 to help with whatever you need for your Neighborhood Watch. And then lo and behold, the next time around, the cities propose that law enforcement levy, that's gonna net $500,000 for the city to hire more officers. Now that's approved. Because the citizens have felt firsthand, this is really hard. Oh, not as many of us as I thought would be out patrolling are actually doing this. Oh, we encountered this obstacle. So there's a lot more understanding of what's involved and then corresponding citizen approval. So that's the sort of thing that I see 9 potentially relating to, and that's where I'm saying we don't need to have it foo-foo. If there's another way of getting at that sort of thing is part of the city, but city administrator's responsibility. If the city council wants to do that, how can we write that in?
Maybe the word cooperation is wrong, because that makes it sound like you're supposed to make the council people all like each other and not disagree with each other.
I don't really understand how what you're saying has anything to do with promoting cooperation. I think what you're saying is something more along the lines of, and it wouldn't be a direction for the manager. Seems like it would be a direction for the city council.
And if they make
To-
that directive, I've got to
Mhm.
administer it, make sure it happens.
Yeah, I don't see how the charter precludes what you're talking about. I think it allows it without having to have this language in it.
I agree.
Okay, so we are at time and we will pick up there.
I think we could cover this real quick. I mean, if you want to put in some feel good stuff, here, fine. But I mean, it's really subjective. Really, it's saying be a decent person.
Yeah, I don't have any need to put in the feel good stuff. I don't have any need to see 8 in there at all. It's the, I see a role for the manager that is, it's not the same as the mayor being the political head of the town. But there is a corresponding thing of when there are initiatives of the city. The city administrator is there working with the public in those initiatives. There's an oversight of city initiatives in a way that looks to involve the public.
So you're saying I should administer the Boy Scout and local Boy Scout troop as they're doing?
No, because that's not a city initiative.
Right, but it is citizens.
Which is
Building a
what,
sense of community.
which is what I'm saying. I'm not attached to any of the feel good language. When I read the feel good language, what I think they're trying to get at is that. What I was mentioning, not. I don't think they're
Can't we
trying
all
to,
just get along?
yeah, I don't think they're trying to get at the,
That's
can't
why I
we all
think the
just get along?
cooperation
Right.
needs to be changed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just, none of that is quantifiable.
Among the council, cooperation among the council.
Yeah, you're hearing it as among the council. I'm hearing it as among the council and the staff and the citizens. In developing,
How about promote community involvement with council and staff and citizens and everybody working together to make our community better? It's not like we're pointing at the council, you all need to behave yourself up there and do what we think you should be doing. Let's just all get, involved in our community. This community there's so much apathy in this town. Nobody gives a hoot about things. And I think that's what they're trying to say. Get the people involved somehow.
Remote community government, remote community involvement in city government. Is that what you're trying to say?
Something on that line.
People into committees.
Yeah,
Mhm.
get people involved. Like neighborhood watch or whatever, and neighborhood barbecues.
Yeah.
I could say, yeah. About community.
Get them
involvement, city
involved
government.
in You know, like on the budget committee or any kind of committee, you know, get the citizens involved.
I don't know, I mean, that sure all sounds fine and dandy, but on top of all the work load that the city
Yes,
administrator
yeah.
has, and you're required to make sure the community is involved in this city.
It just says promote.
Yeah.
So have a good attitude about it. You know, I mean, maybe you could put something on the website that people could just go see how they can get involved in the community. And
That's already on there.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah,
got it.
it's pretty simple.
I'm gonna give a sideways thumb. We're over time. I anticipate that I'm gonna come back and just give a straight thumbs up to this. But I'm tired.
Yeah.
And we can-
Yeah,
we
let's
can
leave
delete
it
that. I know, but remember, we only have 2 more meetings. That's it. Delete that, we consented not to have anything there.
Well, we're gonna get to it when we get to 11, which is down here.
Okay, yeah, that's the dangerous one.
Oh,
Because some-
Delegate duties but remain responsible for actions of all subordinates.
Yeah, so a firefighter does some bad things and he's gotta be fired. I gotta be fired too. Cop does some bad things. I gotta be fired too. I'm responsible for their actions. Public works person does something bad. Responsible for them.
Wow.
You getting paid enough?
Lowest in Lake County. So,
yes.
That's a silly,
Meeting adjourned.
silly suggestion, isn't it?
Thank you, Elizabeth. You well.
Good night.
Good night.
Meeting adjourned.
Yep, meeting adjourned.
Awesome. So Thursday, we're meeting here at what time? Is it 7 or 8 or 6? 7.
no, we have a meeting on Wednesday first.
Yeah.
Wednesday 7, Thursday 6.
Yes,
2
Wednesday.
more meetings.
Oh, are
And
you
that's
here?
it.
Are you here
Wednesday? Yeah,
Wednesday?
Wednesday at 7. That's when you probably can't meet, right?
Wednesday, 7 to 9. Yeah,
Somebody said they-
I can't.
You can, okay.
Thursday, 6 to 8.
Possibly
Okay.
Thursday 6 to the.
So
Coffee.
I was gonna say, like, if we're not done Thursday, then I guess we just have to scrap the idea of getting it on the ballot and keep working on it. And push for maybe a May ballot.
Which is
So if we look at the,
A lot. Well, there's not a lot of sections left in our charter, but there's a whole bunch of stuff I saw that they're proposing for us to consider that's not in our charter.
so it's not too bad.
Yeah, but there's some big topics like what are we gonna do about the reporter?
Mhm.
Will be.
That's a big one.
Yep. If you look at the dates. Yep. Well, we meet again Wednesday, right?
Mhm.
And we'll see what we can do. And we'll try to stay focused and get through a lot.
All right.